where do we focus our energy? Do we focus on the optimism? Do we focus it on the pessimism? Doom and gloom versus stories of how the future could look?
There's a certain amount of pessimism that's important and being realistic and not being overconfident that we can make these changes happen.
It's not so much whether it's a sad story or depressing story or positive, optimistic story. It's really the way that we're telling the story.
I'm an optimist. I try to be as much as I can because that's really the way we're gonna make these things happen, I think.
So there's a real potential where we make these changes to the Earth system and it starts responding on its own, and actually we have very little control. And so there's a possibility that we do something that we can't reverse, and I want people to understand is that yes, we have choices and we can make control, but it's not like we can just stop this thing on a dime.
I have this battle of being optimistic and realistic. The reality is that, yeah, the window is dramatically closing, where we can do something, but once the permafrost is melting, once the diseases that are locked in the ice and the soil that have been there for millions and millions of years get released, once we have climate refugees and we have climate change, like, I do not see a livable world post-2050 without substantial changes now, and they need to be mandated.
But when it comes to actually our health, when it comes to the good of the environment, when it comes to really anything positive, like for us to really change destructive behaviors to positive behaviors, it really takes like a massive problem to occur for people to realize, oh, wait, we actually have to care about this thing.
This is actually the most optimistic I've been in the political landscape that exists. And like it or not, thanks to the current administration, it has reignited civil engagement.
Now, I'd like us not to get to that point. But man, I'm not gonna whoever is smoking, whatever they're smoking, they think it's gonna just suddenly be resolved. Please hand me that, I love it. It's just not, right? I mean, it's complicated, and I'm afraid to say the evidence points that there will have to be a cataclysmic thing in order to kick this thing going.
People can hear the clock ticking now in a way that they couldn't 10 or 15 years ago, and I think that brings them to the table in a different way.
There is no worst case scenario. It can always get worse. But there's also, the 10-year, 8-year, 12-year time horizon has a built-in fallacy in that if we don't meet it, there's no hope. These are continua. The climate system has responses that are continuous. So we'll always be able to take some mitigating action.
If I step outside the planet, look at this global climate change, we're in deep doo-doo.
The more we do it, because we have started to some extent, the more we do it and more seriously and aggressively we do it, the better.
We need to think about a range of possible futures so that we can act robustly. The one thing I think that we can go to the bank on is that all those futures are going to be hotter.
It's hard to be optimistic, but I think we have to be relentlessly optimistic, because if we're not, then you just throw in the towel.
I think the science can be scary sometimes. It can be really overwhelming. Overall, I'm an optimist because I think it's hard to function if you're not and you deal with this stuff every day.
If we had the political will to do it internationally, we could put in systems tomorrow that will save us from the worst of climate change and will center vulnerable communities.
When we sit together in dark rooms as adults, sometimes we can be very pessimistic and we see the numbers but that's not helpful. It's not going to get us anywhere. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't be realistic. Realistic is very important, but we can be realistic and be positive.
I mean, we can fix this problem, but everybody has to recognize that it's a problem and want to fix it.
We have faced challenges before. There's a lot of knowledge in our Indigenous communities about facing challenges and resiliency. We have the knowledge and we have the technology and the skills, so I think we can do it.